You can bash him, you can rough him, you can hold him, you can interfere with everything he tries to do. Yes, Derwin James, I'm talking to you, but you cannot stop Travis Kelce. At the end of the day, it comes down to one player making one play. That's how they got this done to culminate a whole team's turnaround. Crazy fourth quarter. We're going to go through it all. We are live. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. It is late Sunday night. Your division-leading Chiefs have now taken another game lead, 8-2 on the season over the Los Angeles Chargers, who fall to 5-5. We have Matt and Derek here from ChiefsDigest.com. We are live. We're going to go over this funky game and tell me why I will ever expect this game to not end in 3 points or less, Matt.
I feel like an idiot for thinking the Chiefs were going to win by 6. So I expanded that. I had them as a 4-point game early in the week. I should have stuck with that. It's Chiefs and Chargers. You throw out the records. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. The Chargers bring it every single time that they play the Chiefs. And we know the Chiefs, when they go to LA, they bring their A game. They never show up with a B game in Los Angeles. So I don't know why we'd ever expect anything different from these two teams.
Note to self: never guess more.
It's crazy. You watch this game, and it really felt like Kansas City was out of it for a long time. There were different parts during this game where it just felt like their offense wasn't clicking. They were not being able to hold up on defense in the first half. And then you get to the second half, the defense made some changes. They were able to slow some things down. Yes, the Chargers made plays, but Kansas City's defense continued to rise to the occasion, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot there, Matt. It took a whole team, and I in no way mean in the intro, folks, to take away from the rest of this roster. It's not just 8-7 out there by himself. But when you take a look at the breadth of it, you have to still lean on the fact Travis Kelce has to be the centerpiece of the offense. He has to take all these nudges, all these bumps, all this legal interference inside of 5 yards before the actual penalizing things actually happen that never get called, but that's okay. In the end, is there any way for them in this season to get away from this formula, or is Travis just going to have to bear the brunt of it?
Well, if you don't have Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, I think it's pretty apparent at this point that it is all going to fall on Travis Kelce. And don't get me wrong, I mean, they had some big step-up performances tonight from Justin Watson and Sky Moore, had some great moments. And we're not even glossing over, Isaiah Pacheco having the best game of his career so far and having over 100 yards. Just absolutely was crushing it on the ground for a while. Still ended up with 7.1 yards per carry, even though he had to kind of grind it out there at the end a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was support from the supporting cast, but when it came to making the play, to getting into the end zone, to making the third down plays, I mean, for the most part, while some other guys stepped up, it was Mahomes and Kelce.
That's what it comes down to. We're going to talk about balance later in the week, but Chris, what stood out to you?
Biggest thing that stood out to me was just the guys that did step up. I mean, you had a struggling offensive line in the first half. And honestly, I think part of that is on Andy Reid. He came out and he threw the ball, I thought, more than he needed to in the first half. And it's funny I'm saying that because, Ryan, that's normally you. But they were gashing the Chargers for big runs, and they got away from it. And they finally got back into it in the second half, and it is what won them the game, in my opinion, because they were able to get 6, 7, 8 yards. And I'm sitting here watching, and I'll be honest, I'm sitting here watching with my family just because it's normally what I do on a Sunday night. And my dad is sitting there going, why do they keep running the ball? Mahomes is dealing right now. And at the time he was. But the key was they were still popping it for at least 4 yards a carry, if not 6 or 7 or 8 yards a carry. And I said, this is going to wear down the defense. This is going to wear them down to where they will not be able to keep up in the third and fourth quarter. And that is exactly what happened. And then you also look at another key that we had going into this game was the key use of 3 tight end sets. They used that to perfection tonight.
I cannot argue with that at all. But Matt, maybe the most underrated blocking night of the evening is Jody Fortson, in my opinion. He seemed everywhere on the big plays. Yes, he had an enormous catch, but it takes that downfield aspect to take what is a small chunk play, 8, 10, 12 yards and turn it into a 30-yarder or a 28-yarder and really turn the tide and take that momentum away from the Chargers. That's what they had to have tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but I don't know. To me, I saw the first half and even the game unfolding a little bit differently, and some of it's just because, I mean, it's the Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, I feel like unless they're down by 21 in the fourth quarter, they're not out of it. And to me, what I saw in the first quarter was the Chargers absolutely, giving the Chiefs their best uppercut from the very beginning. They came out and took a big swing, and they were getting it done. They were coming down. They were scoring they got those 2 touchdowns early. They get the big lead. And, you felt like, especially going towards the end of the first half, because the Chargers had that last possession of the first half where if they get into the end zone and then they get the ball back at the beginning of the second half, and you're thinking, okay, Chiefs could be down by 21 here. Well, no, neither one of those things happened. The Chiefs hold them to the field goal. They get them there. They get the ball back. And really the defense took over in the second half. And to me, that was when the momentum shifted, when the Chargers were unable, after coming out and putting the Chiefs on the ropes, they couldn't land a knockout punch. They could not put them away. And once that happened and the Chiefs took the lead, I mean, I did not think that the Chargers were going to win this game. Even when they took the lead again near the end, you just felt like Mahomes was Thanos today. He was inevitable. And once the Chargers had a chance to put Mahomes and the Chiefs away, they didn't do it. And that's why I think they lost this game.
And really quick, Ryan, I know what I just have to say this based on what you were talking about on that catch by Fortson. That was a great catch by Fortson. That was the 30-yarder down the side. That was an even better throw. I mean, the defender is right there. If Mahomes starts hitting those types of throws, and I said this on Twitter tonight, I'll say it right now. If he starts hitting those throws consistently, this league is in trouble because those are the types of throws he isn't consistently throwing. He's usually throwing to guys that are wide open or at least have some sort of separation. Fortson had none, and he trusted this guy to get the ball and put it where he could get it.
That's what it comes down to. Placement wins the day. And that's the way that it goes until it doesn't go. And there was a turnaround. We're going to talk about how they kind of righted the ship. And that, for me, was the midway point. There's a lot of takeaways here. A lot of guys contributed to this. But we have to go over them in order because I think the significance actually plays along with the way the ball game went. First, got to give you a little bit of news. This is a piece from our newest sponsor over at Total Wine & More. It's holiday season and find what you love at Total Wine & More. You can get so many great bottles to choose from, and it's easy to find a new favorite Cabernet or Chardonnay or whatever she likes or whatever your folks like or whatever you're looking to do. Perfect gifts for everyone on your wish list and some help from a friendly guide. And all with the confidence of knowing that you found something special at the lowest price. Love what you find what you love. Only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup is available at most locations, not all of them, but most of them. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Drink responsibly, please, in this holiday season. Be 21. I think a lot of takeaways. And Matt, you touched on the big one for me. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The big one for me was that we've been worried about Sky Moore. Well, Sky found his mojo, right? For me, did you find it interesting that he was still on special teams in terms of getting the returns, or did something else stand out?
No, and really, once you have Hardman and then you've got Tony that goes down, I mean, you're really back down to two choices for who's going to receive punts back there, and it's either Sky Moore or Trent McDuffie, and I think the Chiefs still want to protect McDuffie a little bit, even though I think he's healthy and ready to go back there. I think this was too big of a game, too big of a situation on a Sunday night to have to throw him out there in the middle of a game to receive punts. And if you're doing that with McDuffie, I mean, you're solely going out there and asking him to do a fair catch. I mean, you're not asking for anything else. But the Chiefs said all along, I mean, they still have confidence in Sky Moore. They were willing to go back to him. If anything, they really were taking him off that just to give him a little bit of a breather and let him focus on some things. And I think you saw that pay off. I mean, he was obviously playing with a lot more confidence tonight. It just took a couple of catches, I think, to really get him going. And yeah, it was a little bit of baptism by fire tonight. I mean, the Chiefs needed to throw the football in his direction. I mean, there wasn't anything else. I mean, they were losing guys left and right. It was up to some people to step up, and Sky got his opportunities, and he made the most of them. And that's going to be a big deal to me because I think that's going to give Mahomes more confidence to go to him in the future.
And I'm glad you bring that up because I think that continues to show that he needs to be playing a little bit more. He needs to get a chance to get the ball thrown to him a little bit more because he was able to do something on offense tonight that we haven't seen, and that is really important for him to get confidence, one, and for the team to have confidence in him, and for the team to have that additional weapon. And there was a veteran wide receiver that I thought let Kansas City down again tonight. MVS had a catch at one point, but had another one that he should have caught that would have been a big first down. You have to continue to make plays. Justin Watson is showing up when the Chiefs have called on him for the most part. Sky Moore showed up tonight. And then you have Jody Fortson get involved. You have Noah Gray get involved a little bit. And he could have had a huge catch, but that was a great breakup by the Chargers. This offense is going to need more playmakers. They're going to be without Hardman for at least 3 more games. And the question is when are they going to get Juju back? But obviously, you look at what they were able to do tonight. They had enough to get it done. Travis Kelce was a big part of that. But then you start looking at the running back room. Pacheco did great running the ball. McKinnon did pretty well as well, other than that fumble. And he's, I'm sure, kicking himself for that one. But it could be a different running back room going into next week. And maybe Ronald Jones actually gets a chance now.
Yeah, we just did hear from Andy Reid that Clyde has a high ankle sprain, so that is definitely something that's going to sideline him for a few weeks. And if that's the case, no reason at this point you're not going to see Ronald Jones next week.
It makes perfect sense. It's on what his purposes be. In case of emergency, bring him onto the roster when you have to put someone down for a bit. I think it still plays into, especially if he can find his rhythm, it'll be a little tough for him given that we're this far into the season. But if you can have a rotation where he can still get a few runs and kind of build into it, I think that can still help. The run game has to be, I think, something that what we're learning about this particular team, this particular year, is it has to be more involved. By my count, it was 23 called runs on 34 called dropbacks tonight. Patrick did scramble 4 times, but I'm sorry, so that'd be 38 dropbacks. That's still pretty good balance. And overall, I think that maybe a little bit more than they wanted to do, probably if I'm Andy Reid, but I think that's about the right ratio. Somewhere in the 40 to 45% range. I think that works great. Is there a reason not to run that much, Matt?
No, and I mean, and I didn't have a problem with, really the play calling in the mix tonight, if for no other reason than, you know what, the Chiefs were feeling pretty confident about the passing game too, and it proved. I mean, in the end, they effectively moved this ball against the Chargers on the ground and in the air. They felt like they could do that, so that's why. And you've got Mahomes, so you're going to throw the football. You want to go to the ground when you're running it as effectively as they were, but the Chiefs were also, remember, I mean, especially after those first couple of drives, they were in not exactly what I'd call catch-up mode, but they were definitely in a mode where they didn't want to let up the pressure. They did not want this game to become what the Chargers turned it into in the second quarter, which was to try and take the air out of the ball, really elongate the game. The Chiefs wanted to play this faster pace, and at that rate, they felt like they were going to win this game. It would be in their favor, and I agreed with that. And looking at how effectively the offense has played overall tonight, including the passing game, I mean, I don't think you could really fault the play calling mix. If anything, I mean, I think the fact that they did move in the direction of the run more tonight is definitely a positive sign. We'll see what happens. I mean, this was a particularly favorable matchup as far as being able to get some yards on the ground in chunks. Fact that the Chiefs did that's a good sign, but that's not going to be the case every week, I think.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
And I was just
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say I was trying to sit here and look at the stats. Chiefs ran it on average. I think they ran 27 times in that game. They averaged 6 yards a carry. Now that includes Patrick Mahomes, that includes Clyde, that includes McKinnon. Everybody that ran the ball averaged 6 yards a carry. Pacheco had 7.1 by himself. If you're going to run the ball that efficiently, you need to run the ball more. I'm not saying that they have to become a running offense. Obviously, that's not what you're going to do with the league leading MVP probably as your QB. But it's still something that they need to consider doing a little bit more.
Yeah, just to help everybody out. And I think it helps Patrick as well. There's plenty of it that goes into it. When you take a look at the defense, got a lot of impact from a lot of guys. Nick Bolton, 14 combined tackles. Willie Gay, 11. That's a good sign when your linebackers are leading your tackles. For years and years and years, we've consistently seen the DBs be leading the tackles on this roster. And that is starting to shift, although I have to say, there was a panic moment for me tonight, and I want to know how you guys felt about it. When L'Jarius Sneed is sitting on the sideline, and there's 3 rows out there at corner, and Brian Cook's in the back, and I love Cook. I think he actually helped with that fumble. But 4 rookies in the secondary, I had to clinch a little bit, Matt. Could they have overcome that if Sneed had not been out there?
Yeah, that was a tester moment. I'll agree with that. But, I wasn't terribly concerned. I mean, it was a little bit because Sneed looked like he was probably going through the concussion protocol. I think the officials were the one that looked like they took him out of the game. And if that's the case, it was very, procedural there. It looked like Sneed didn't think that he needed to come out. But that period of time, yeah, you got the young guys on the field, but I thought it was a really good test to see what they had. And yeah, that could have been a moment because I thought all the young guys a little bit struggled tonight. And that was to be expected against a team like the Chargers that have got, some big receivers and they got a big name quarterback. You're going to struggle. And they did at times. But I think they also stepped up. And honestly, I was very impressed with Brian Cook as far as coming in, and I don't think that the defense missed anything, with him coming in there. And that's not a knock against Juan Thornhill. That's more of a compliment to Cook, that I think he's ready for a bigger role. And I'm really interested to see. I mean, if Thornhill misses any time, I think the Chiefs are going to be in a okay shape there. Just as like at cornerback. I mean, they've been able to get these young guys a ton of experience early that they didn't expect. And I think you saw in that portion when Sneed was out, it paid off because they did not break down.
And they didn't seem like they panicked at all, which I thought was really impressive. Matt, have you heard anything from Andy Reid about Thornhill? Because I know he went out in the first half and didn't come back.
Just mentioned the calf injury, but I have not heard any other more details than that yet.
Okay. Lots to talk about when we start talking about this defense. And Ryan, I will tell you, I was really worried when I saw Sneed go out, but I saw the replay and I wasn't too worried. I figured he'd be back in pretty soon. But the one thing I did like to hear about him, I think it was Collinsworth, was saying that after that game in week 2, Sneed said he wanted to guard Mike Williams the next time around. And he wanted to go after Mike Williams. And obviously, Mike Williams had a big catch and ended up going out of the game. And I think that really hurt the Chargers. I think that this could have been a different game if he plays the entire game, just because of the different things that they can do on offense. But I was very encouraged to hear Sneed wanting that kind of assignment.
Yeah, and there was a couple of things I think were key tonight too. Is one was certainly that once Williams went out, Spags was much more aggressive with going to the blitzes and putting pressure on Herbert because they felt like they had the opportunity there. I mean, with Williams in the game and Allen, I think you have to be a little bit more hesitant as far as putting some extra pressure on Herbert because you need those guys to cover. But once Williams went out, Spags I thought was a lot more aggressive with the pass rush, and it paid off. And 2, I mean, the Chiefs were doing a pretty good job of timing the Chargers play call and snap count too, because they were getting a ton of pressure with the front 4. And some of that was just, the edges were jumping at the snap. They had it read pretty darn well. And that was a big factor, I thought, in the second half too. And even, and the goal line stand, I mean, I thought that was a pretty good, effort on the front end there, as far as they were jumping the snap before the Chargers were.
Yeah, and that's a great sign for the defense. We have a lot more to talk about the players of the game. But I need to tell you about our friends over at Turo. Turo is the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want wherever you need it from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the U.S., U.K., Canada, and coming soon to Australia. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. Get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday. Find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from A to B. Test drive that new electric vehicle that you've had your eye on and see how it fits your everyday life. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms and conditions and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com.
And a note from our friends over at PrizePicks as well. I didn't have Patrick going for 329 tonight. I know he's been on a historic pace, but I just felt that this game was going to be a little bit tighter. If you chose the 288 or over, You choose the more, you made money tonight. And that's how easy it is over at PrizePicks. You just take their line that they will set. You choose whether a player is going to hit more or less of that number, and you're in the money. You pick 2 to 5 players, you lay that down on your entry. You can win up to 10 times your original bet. No competing against other people, no setting up lineups. You can play any sport you like, but NFL is obviously where it's at. 60 seconds to make a bet and get in there to play daily fantasy sports here. You're betting on your prognostication skills, and that's where it comes into. It's super easy, it's safe, and it's fast withdrawals in 30 countries or Canada. It's a lot, and we try to help you out here by giving you a code at Locked On that will get you 100% instant deposit bonus up to $100. You can do that really easy. It's Locked On at PrizePicks.com. Now, we have plenty of guys that I think we could probably give out game balls to, folks. We're going to do that here momentarily, but I want to talk about maybe a runner-up or two, because play of the night for me, the one that I loved the most, it did have some impact, but I've been waiting, 3 years to watch Willie Gay blitz the passer like this and actually get home and use that speed. So I was throwing things around for that play. Matt, did anything stand out for you, like the hallelujah moment?
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely, the perfect epitome of what we were just talking about. I mean, the Chiefs were, Spags was being pretty aggressive with his blitzes, and I thought pretty creative. That was a absolutely well-timed, well-executed blitz by Willie Gay, because they didn't tip anything off. Herbert did not read it, didn't see it, didn't account for it whatsoever, and just got blitzed. And that showed Willie Gay's athleticism. I mean, he's got it. We've seen it in burst, but that was exactly what you were talking about there. I think a lot of us have been waiting to see that kind of play from Willie.
For me, I got to throw out my honorable mention, and it's to Sky Moore, just because he has had such a tough season. He's had 70 catches, I believe, is what the number was, all season long. And tonight he had 4 catches, I believe. So congratulations to Sky Moore. I thought he looked great. Coming in and out of his breaks, he made Derwin James look silly on one of his routes. I thought that was fantastic. It shows what he's able to do. It shows his quickness. It shows his ability to get across defenders and get open. That is exactly what this offense needs. And with another wide receiver injury tonight for Kadarius Toney, there's going to be a lot of questions as to how Kansas City is going to have to adapt and try to move forward.
Yeah, good for him for taking the reins. Folks, we're going to give out game balls here. Matt, of course, as our mystery guest, our most popular guest, our most frequent guest. Shouldn't even be called a guest anymore, I don't think. But Matt's the man on the beat. So, Matt, who gets your game ball tonight?
I am going to go for the lowest of the low-hanging fruit and take the guy who should be MVP of the league right now, Patrick Mahomes. Was getting a lot of pressure. I mean, like we talked about consistently tonight, the Chargers, this was their A+ effort, and they had it on defense too. They harassed and hit Mahomes all night long, yet he really stuck in there. He took the pops, he popped back up, didn't take a sack in the first half. I mean, he was doing a really good job of avoiding everything, and then on top of that was just finding guys. Here he is, playing without Juju, playing without McCole Hardman, later playing without Kadarius Toney. And he's getting Justin Watson involved. He's getting Sky Moore involved. He's getting Jody Fortson involved for not just little plays, but big chunk down the field plays. And then just Travis Kelce and connecting with him when it's time. I mean, some of those throws tonight, you get used to them because they're Patrick Mahomes throws, but there's just not many guys in the league that make about half dozen of those plays tonight. To me, there were probably 12 guys on this team that deserve a game ball tonight. But, I mean, for me, Mahomes, that was an MVP performance tonight.
We are so spoiled with Mahomes. Folks, hit the like if you enjoyed Matt's game ball and hit your comments down below. I'd like to have that. Tons of people in here tonight would like to see more thumbs up if you would. And if you're not one of us already, make sure you get subbed. Chris, obviously Mahomes is the star. Who do you have for your game ball?
I'm going to take the other low-hanging fruit. I had to go to Travis Kelce. You look at what he was able to do in tonight's game, and it wasn't just that he scored touchdowns. It was the way he scored touchdowns in this game that was impressive. It was him running after the catch and getting, getting narrow on the sideline, if you want to put it that way, for a little bit and getting down the sideline. But it's also, just the way he's able to move around the field and able to get open. And one of our listeners did point out, I believe now is in the lead for most career 100-yard games by a tight end. He was tied with, I believe, Gronkowski, and now he is in the lead because he's been wanting that he's been after that for the past 3 weeks. So Kelce played great. And I think it's funny because the one play of Kelce's tonight that I think that a lot of people will look at and go, well, that doesn't make sense with Travis Kelce, is the one where he didn't get his head turned around. And Mahomes was trying to throw him the ball quick. I'm actually glad he didn't catch that ball because to me, he was about to get lit up. Mm-hmm. And he probably would have been short. And so I was glad he didn't have his head around. But in every other instance, he seemed to be on the same page with Mahomes. And he just shows every single week how much it means for receivers to be on the same page.
Yeah. You can't get away from it. He is who he is. Now, when you guys let me go last, that means I get to do all my annual mentions. So thanks. It could have been Pacheco. It could have been Nick Bolton. Great game from him, not just his normal downhill causing the fumble. He had a pass defensed. Don't see that from Nick Bolton every week, so really happy to see that. And obviously, a hell of a play coming back to that tip ball to actually make that interception. That was extremely athletic. But the guy
was that Naughty? They got the other one on the goal line. Do you know who had the other bad pass?
Let me look. Right now, no, it was Dunlap. Okay. We have Bush with 2. We've L'Jarius Sneed with 2. We have 2 sacks for Chris Jones. We have 2 sacks for Mike Dana. Good job for Mike Danny. I would consider giving him another one too. But the guy who held it all together and kept the back end tight in all cases, we've already talked about a little bit, taking on the biggest assignment here. The guy is just the glue in the back, and he's not scared. He comes up with PBUs. He comes up with TFLs. He was all over the run game. When they wanted to go to Keenan Allen there at the end, it was L'Jarius Sneed that stopped him. L'Jarius Sneed is everywhere. They better re-sign him as soon as they possibly can, or it's going to get expensive. He gets my game ball tonight, folks. Let us know what you think. Who gets your game ball? Who's the most important player tonight in this ball game? Leave your comments down in the YouTube comments, in the iTunes reviews, everywhere else.
I got to ask you.
And we didn't even mention the fact that the guy who's making a case to be the defensive player of the year had 2 more sacks tonight.
I did say it.
Yeah, he did say it.
Okay, but it needs to be repeated.
Yeah, he did say it. I'll give him credit for that. I have to ask, though, did you guys think that it was an interesting twist to use Mike Dana in the NASCAR package?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he got sacks twice.
Spags has really been enjoying that, throwing 4 defensive ends out there, and I think that's a Joe Cullen classic too, of throwing 4 defensive ends out there in those third down packages.
Yeah. It's like Spags was listening to our podcast from 3 years ago. Yes, the NASCAR works. It's going to be great. Keep doing it. I'm intrigued by what they're doing with George Karlaftis. There's a lot more. We're going to break this down more tomorrow, folks. Matt will be back with us for Wednesday. We have a lot going on. I know it's late. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for the likes and everything else. I'll be live on RGR in a few minutes, so head over there. Matt is going to go listen to the rest of the pressers to get all his information. Check Chiefs Digest in the morning. We would appreciate it. Thanks for listening to us tonight. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.